Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
And how long is it since your last confession?
Oh, it must be 5 or 6 months, Father.
And tell me, my son, what are your sins?
Well, Father, it's really one sin only. Am I barred from the Catholic Church, Father?
No, you're not barred from the Catholic Church. Now, what are your sins?
Well, it's like I say, Father, it's really one sin. See, the other day, the wife was getting a chicken out of the freezer. And are you sure I'm not barred from the Catholic Church?
No, of course you're not barred from the Catholic Church. Now, what are your sins?
Like I said, the other day, the wife was getting a chicken out of the freezer. She was bent over and I don't know what came over me, Father. I just couldn't help myself, Father, and I just tackled her there and then, Father. Are you sure I'm not barred from the Catholic Church?
You're not barred from the Catholic Church. Now, why do you keep asking?
Well, Father, I'm barred out of Tesco's.
Down in Kerry many years ago, there was this man from China, a Chinese man. Anybody here from China tonight? But you know, multicultural, and he was a Chinese many years ago, and he was in Kerry, and he was in Tralee, the county town of Kerry, and the reason he was there because he wanted to open up the first Chinese takeaway in County Kerry. And he was walking around one evening around Tralee looking for a suitable premises, trying to find the right place. And as he was walking around Tralee, the next thing he was mugged. A gang of boys mugged him, gave him an awful hammering. And an ambulance came and took him away. And that was the first Chinese takeaway in County Kerry, if I remember right. And they took him to the hospital. They took him out, and he wasn't up to the intensive care, and he's lying in there, pipes, machines, monitors, and the whole lot, and he's lying there, and he couldn't speak a word of English. He couldn't speak a word of English, and nobody could connect with him or contact with him, and nobody knew where he was from or not, didn't know who to contact or anything. And then the local parish priest, he got involved. He thought, this is terrible. This man's thousands of miles away from home, and this family doesn't know he's here, and nobody will have to make some contact. So the priest went up into the room and all to talk to him, and the pipes and the monitor, and he said, look, he says, you don't know me. He says, I'm the local parish priest here, he said, and he says, maybe we could just, make some contact here, that maybe you could tell me something about yourself that would help. He says, because I'm sure there's a family waiting. And the Chinese man, he just looked at the priest, and all he said was, he said, and he dropped dead, stone dead. That was it, over. And lights out, gone. And the priest thought, this is terrible, and he's dead, and nobody knows who he is. So the priest took on himself that would bury him in the Catholic graveyard, and buried him and all, and they couldn't even put a name on the headstone. And the priest said, this is terrible, there's a family at home in China wondering what happened to this man, and they're waiting on him to come home, and this is terrible. And the worst thing was that the last words this man ever spoke on earth, he spoke to the priest. And the priest didn't know what they were, and this really tortured him. And for years, for a couple of years afterwards, every time he'd meet somebody from China, he'd ask them, do you speak Chinese? And hiya, and what does this mean? And they'd all give different, Mandarin, Chinese, Sichuan Chinese, no understand, different dialect. And this annoyed him for a couple of years. And one night he was in Dublin, and he was in a restaurant, and a waiter came over, Chinese, and he said to the waiter, he says, are you from China? And the waiter says, no, I'm from Finglas. He said, you speak Chinese? Oh, I speak Chinese, yeah. He said, I wonder, could you tell me what this means? He said, I tell you what that means. That means you are standing on the oxygen pipe.
And that was the story of the three little pigs. Now, off to sleep with you.
Daddy, can I ask you a question?
Of course you can, Dan. What's the question?
Daddy, where did I come from?
Why do you want to know where you came from?
Well, Daddy, the teacher was asking questions in the school today, and she asked me where I came from, and I couldn't answer it.
One day your mother wouldn't be here. Well, listen, you're going to have to, you'll find it out soon enough anyway, so you better hear it properly. There's no point in trying to fool you with the birds and the bees and cabbage leaves. I'll explain it all to you, son. First of all, they're men and they're women. And this is what happens. Now, did you understand all of that, Dan?
I did.
And are you happy with that answer?
Daddy, that is just brilliant, Daddy. That is just brilliant. That'll fair knock the smile off Tommy Riley's face.
Why, what do you mean?
Well, today when the teacher asked Tommy Riley where did he come from, he said he come from Dublin.
We Dan Murphy. We Dan is 9 years of age, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Murphy is 9 years of age, and that's an amazing fact. I've been talking about him for 25 years, and he's still 9. He's just an absolutely wee blinder of a fella, you know. One day he's at school. Have any teachers in? He's at school, and he's out. You know the 11 o'clock break. You know when he's out at the 11 o'clock break and he's out in the front yard and he's playing away with his friends. And next thing, what does he see? What does he see going past in front of the gate? But his daddy's car, and he waves away his daddy. And Daddy didn't see him. Daddy and Auntie Frances were in the car, and the two of them driving along, and he waved away, and they didn't see him, so he watched them for a wee while, and then they went down the side of the school, you see, down, and he waved away, and actually they didn't see him at all. And then they went down the old road, down to the woods, and Dan was watching, and then they parked the car, and then Daddy and Auntie Frances started kissing and all, and you know, and foot and whatnot. But anyway, I don't want to bore you, and... But anyway, that evening after school, Dan couldn't wait to get home from school. And he went into the house and he met Mommy, and Mommy says, "Well, Dan, what sort of a day had you at school?" "Oh, Mommy, it was brilliant today at school." He said, "Brilliant." He said, "The 11 o'clock break." He said, "I was out at 11 o'clock break, and you know who I seen going past the front of the school? Daddy, and I waved and he didn't see me." Oh, she says, "Oh, your daddy goes down that road." He said, him and Auntie Frances was in the car and I waved, they didn't see me." "Oh, were they? And what did they do then, Dan?" He said, "Well, then they went down the side of the school and I waved, they didn't see me." He said, and what did they do then? Then they went down the old road into the woods, and then they stopped the car. And what did they do then, Dan? And then Daddy and Auntie Frances started kissing and canoodling and all. And what did they do then, Dan? And then Daddy took off Auntie Frances' shirt. And no, do you know what, Dan? Do you know what, Dan? She said, do you know, save that for later. Do you know when yourself and me and your daddy is having dinner? Maybe you could tell us, the two of us, the story, because your daddy would love to hear it. So that was grand. We were having dinner that evening, talking about this and that, and then the next thing in the middle of the dinner, Mommy piped up. She says, "Dan, what was that you were telling me this morning being at school and you saw Daddy?" "Oh, that's right." He says, "I was out in the front, he says, at 11 o'clock break, and I saw Daddy and Auntie Frances going past in the car, and I waved and they didn't see me, and then they went down the side, and then they went down the old road into the woods and parked the car." And what did they do then, Dan? And then Daddy and Auntie Frances started kissing and canoodling and all. And what did they do then, Dan? And then Daddy took off Auntie Frances' shirt. No. And what did they do then? And then they reclined the seat. No. And what did they do then, Dan? They done the same thing as you and Uncle George used to do when Daddy was away, remember?
My son, could I have a large gin and tonic for the Mother Superior's constipation, please? Certainly, sister. Excuse me, could I have another large gin and tonic for the Mother Superior's constipation, please? No problem. Excuse me, could I have another large gin and tonic for the Mother Superior's constipation, please? Certainly. Excuse me. Could I have another large gin and tonic for the Mother Superior's constipation, please?
Right. But, sister, forgive me for asking you this, but how is you drinking all these gin and tonics gonna help the Mother Superior's constipation?
Well, when she sees me tonight, she'll shite herself.